snake is a commonly known and feared creature. This was not always the case. Once upon a time, the snake was loved and cherished by many older civilizations. Now in modern culture, the snake represents deceit and traitors. Today, I'll be looking into what they once represented compared to what they represent now and why. In many ancient cultures, the snakes were the main important figures in medicine and spiritual healing. In ancient Greece, as well as Roman counterparts, almost all the gods involved with medicine had a snake. Asclepius, the god of New Age medicine and hospitals, was often pictured holding a stick with a snake coiled around it. He and his daughter Hygiena, who had a chalice with a snake wrapped around it, were the main gods of healing at the time. Many would sleep in their temples and seek out priests after falling ill, and sacrifice sacred snakes under the statues of the gods. Sacred snakes were permitted to slither through hospitals as they were believed to possess healing powers. The ancient Greeks and Romans weren't the only civilizations to believe this. In ancient Egypt and the later study of alchemy, immortality, endless renewal, fertility, and rebirth were all symbolized by a snake eating its own tail. The shedding of its skin helped connect snakes with the gods of time and protection, such as Nehekbar, a minor goddess of time. In all these cultures, they also acknowledged the dangers of snakes. But rather than fear them, they expressed curiosity and wonder as to how something so small could kill them. With awe, they acknowledged that something that had no limbs, was small, and that slithered along the ground could kill them quickly and quietly with minimal effort. Today, psychologically, we have a degree of confusion and fear as we struggle to put these traits together. Humans to be so far superior to snakes, yet we can still be taken down so easily. To many, the thought is impossible and terrifying. We claim to be at the top of the food chain, yet we too could be silently hunted. This isn't the only reason why society has developed a mass fear of snakes. Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov, 1849 to 1936, discovered the conditional reflex. If you show something as a neutral object to a child, they will not fear it. If you then repeatedly show the same object with a negative outcome, the object itself will become negative, not just the outcome. This explains to a degree why our culture fears snakes. Modern day culture is heavily influenced by religion, media, and movies. So, if you link snakes to negative outcomes in religion, media, and news, society as a whole will see them as negative. This is exactly what has happened. You've all heard of the fall of man in the Garden of Eden. Satan disguises himself as a serpent, whispers to Eve, and ultimately dooms humanity. Christianity has 2.1 billion followers. So, the origin story of the most followed religion in the world links the fall of humanity to serpents. That's not great for snakes, but it's a perfect negative outcome. Next, let's look at the next major culture zombie-inducing category, media. Every time someone gets bitten or finds a snake in their house, it's probably going to end up on the news. Everyone who then watches the news sees it from the scary, sensationalistic news outlook. That plants itself into your subconscious. A venomous snake might be completely harmless, but after multiple nature shows demonstrating the swift, painful, and possibly potentially deadly attack of a snake, we attach thoughts of impending harm and exaggerate the actual amount of danger to every snake we see. Another example is social media. This one's a circular loop. Someone exaggerates on social media about a snake and makes someone else afraid. Then if they post about a snake with a fearful caption, someone else becomes afraid, and repeat. And then because everyone else is afraid, I become afraid of snakes. So then I'm not the odd one out. And now we're all freaking out about snakes just to fit in, just to be accepted by our peers. Lastly, let's examine movies, books, and phrases. Snakes on a Plane featuring Samuel L. Jackson. The horror movies Anaconda 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Indiana Jones, The Pit. All of these have one main concept in common: scary snakes. Whether it's a snake pit or a giant snake that eats people, they portray snakes as terrifying creatures that should be avoided at all costs. The stereotype is also reflected in books.
Please go to the tuck shop immediately. Jessica McCullough, please go to the tuck shop.
Let's consider Harry Potter and the House Slytherin. Slytherin is portrayed by a coiled snake, and a lot of evil characters come from the Hogwarts house. You might even describe one of the backstabbing characters, Peter Pettigrew, as a snake in the grass. This phrase is often used to describe deceitful or treacherous people. You might even just call them a snake as an insult. Boom! Snakes symbolize evil. As you can see, the perception of snakes has changed rather drastically over the last millennia. They have went from symbols of good health and prosperity to a feared and hated pest. I believe that by sharing the understanding of how this came into fruition, we will lose our fears and help bring the perception of snakes into perspective. Society has become fearful of an animal rarely encountered in daily life. If people were educated about what steps to take should there be an encounter, we could lessen the fear. Teach people to identify dangerous species versus non-dangerous. Encourage desensitization techniques. Have people imagine increasing contact with snakes while in a relaxed and safe place. If people were educated, we would be arming everyone with a level of power and control over the situation. Ignorance breeds fear. Education lessens